Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into some absolutely mind-bending ideas about the very fabric of reality and consciousness. We're going to be unpacking Volume 21 of the Zongjing Lu. Now, this is a brilliant 10th century text compiled by Chan master Youngming Yanshou, and it offers this incredible deconstruction of how our minds might literally be projecting the physical world around us. So let's see what it has to say about rules, reality, and, well, our own minds. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our cognitive roadmap for the explainer. We'll start off with principle, practice, and the one mind. Then we'll move into the precepts of perfect teaching and explore how the five precepts are completely reinterpreted. After that, we're looking at body, land, and mind only before wrapping up with purity created by mind. It's a dense philosophy, but I promise we have a very clear destination.
So, first up, principle, practice, and the one mind. Throughout history, philosophers and spiritual seekers have totally agonized over this tension between ultimate truth on one hand and worldly, everyday action on the other. Master Yanshu tackles this head-on by grounding us immediately in what he calls the one mind. To put it simply, the one mind is the fundamental source of absolutely everything. It's the root origin of both principle, which means the ultimate truth, the deep theory, the emptiness of things, and practice, which is our worldly action, our daily behaviors, the stuff we actually do. Every single ordinary, confused state of mind you have, and every highly enlightened state, all stem directly from this exact same single origin.
But Yansho offers a pretty stark warning here about leaning too far to either side. If you grasp only at principle, like if you get completely obsessed with the pure theory of emptiness, it leads to total stagnation. You basically lose the drive to take any positive action or grow spiritually because you're just thinking, well, it's all empty anyway, right? But on the flip side, if you grasp only at practice, blindly following rules and just doing the actions without ever actually investigating your own mind, you end up trapped on an endless hamster wheel of birth, death, and suffering. So the one mind perfectly harmonizes these two. When you finally realize that the ultimate truth and your everyday actions share the exact same source, you can act powerfully in the world without being bound by it. It's a real game changer.
All right, moving on to section 2, the precepts of perfect teaching.
And this brilliantly illustrates how Yansho takes what we think we know about moral rules and just completely flips it upside down. In the traditional worldly view, precepts are seen as physical restrictions. It's like putting a bridle on a horse or chaining up a wild monkey just to force it to behave. It's all about suppression. But in this perfect teaching, precepts aren't about suppressing your behavior at all. They are about profound mental liberation. See, when you recognize the true nature of your mind, you don't actually need a chain, because the very desire to do harm simply dissolves. You're behaving perfectly, not because you're being forced to, but because you are ultimately totally free. Which brings us to section 3, the 5 precepts reinterpreted. We're going to rapidly break down how this framework applies to the classic rules. Let's start with non-killing. The text drops this massive, paradoxical quote. Killing the father of ignorance, harming the mother of craving, this is the ultimate holding of the precept against killing. I mean, wow. Yanshu's arguing that just avoiding physical harm, that's a super superficial reading of the rule. True non-killing actually requires you to actively, ruthlessly destroy the roots of your own suffering, your ignorance and your craving. That internal destruction is considered the highest possible form of preserving life. Next up is the precept against stealing. Just think about this quote for a second. Seeking nirvana when there is nothing to attain is called the Dharma gate of stealing. It's so fascinating. The text is suggesting that if you are desperately grasping for enlightenment, or if you're treating nirvana like some sort of external prize you have to go out and win, you are actually violating the rule against stealing. Why? Because your true nature is already complete. By seeking something outside of yourself, you're failing to recognize your own inherent wealth. Actually, scratch that. It's worse. You are effectively stealing from your own ultimate nature. Okay, so what about the third precept regarding sexual misconduct and desire? Well, Master Yansho points out that true liberation isn't about running away from the physical world and hiding out in a cave somewhere. True purity is about non-attachment while you are right smack in the middle of the chaos of reality. The source text uses this great carpenter analogy. It's like using a wooden wedge to drive out a stuck wooden wedge. In the perfect teaching, you don't just suppress desire through sheer willpower. You actually use the energy of desire itself to ultimately uproot and stop the desire. To quickly summarize the final 2 precepts, which are against false speech and intoxication, we see them profoundly reimagined as spiritual delusion.
Lying isn't just telling a little fib. The ultimate false speech is claiming you have a level of spiritual enlightenment that you definitely haven't achieved. And intoxication? That's not just about drinking alcohol. The text asserts that our daily ignorance and our stubborn attachment to illusions, that is the true intoxication. Most of us are just walking around completely drunk on our own egos. So true sobriety is simply seeing ultimate reality exactly as it is, without all our biased distortions. Awakening doesn't mean abandoning the world. It means finally seeing right through it with sober eyes. Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, Body, Land, and Mind Only. Shifting from our personal behavior to the nature of the universe itself, we really have to ask ourselves, if the universe is entirely a reflection of the mind, as this text claims, then where exactly is the pure land? Like, where is heaven? Where is enlightenment? Is it some physical location millions of light years away? Or is it something else entirely? Now, what's really interesting about this is a famous analogy the text uses to explain it. Picture a flowing river. A being known as a hungry ghost, which is a creature totally consumed by greed and bad karma, looks at that river and literally perceives it as a raging, agonizing fire. Yet a human being looks at the exact same molecules and perceives cool, refreshing, life-giving water. The physical environment itself hasn't changed one bit. It transforms completely based entirely on the mental state and the karma of whoever is observing it. Mechanically speaking, this whole mind-only concept works in 3 basic steps. Step 1, your mind generates an internal state. This could be a state of extreme virtue, or it could be deep delusion and anger. Step 2, based on that internal state, your karmic perception actively shifts. You literally start filtering reality differently. And step 3, the environment physically manifests around you as either a heavenly pure land or a realm of absolute suffering. Master Yuanshao is essentially proving that heaven and hell aren't distant geographical places at all. They are architectural structures being built in real time by your current mental states. And finally, Section 5, Purity Created by Mind. Bringing these massive philosophical ideas back down to earth, we get a really practical takeaway about how our world is shaped. The text states, purity and defilement have no fixed substance, they come entirely from the mind. To back this up, Yuanshao shares this amazing historical anecdote. During the Tang Dynasty, a foreign emissary visited the emperor. And this emissary reported that back in his home country, for the last 3 years, all the cattle and horses were spontaneously lying down with their heads facing east, pointing directly toward China. His conclusion? This was happening because the emperor's profound inner virtue was radiating outward and affecting the animals. Now, whether you view that as literal history or just a myth, Yuanshao is using it to assert a really radical point. He's saying that even seemingly unconscious animals and the inanimate physical world are entirely responsive to and molded by internal consciousness. The external world has no fixed shape of its own. It just molds itself to the shape of the minds observing it. Which brings us to our conclusion, and a final direct challenge for you. We've seen how rules aren't meant to be physical chains, but rather tools for ultimate mental liberation. We've seen how our environment isn't some fixed objective reality, but a direct, real-time reflection of our own internal purity or delusion. So I want to leave you with this final thought. What kind of world is your mind constructing at this very moment? Are you building a realm of suffering, or are you constructing a pure land? Because the power to choose, as Master Yuanshao has so brilliantly explained, resides entirely in your one mind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.